Welcome back to MouthpieceSports.com's High School Buzz Session. Gentlemen, I'll get right back into it. We touched on a variety of subjects in our last Buzz Session. This one, I want to jump right into recruiting. All three of you guys played college sports. All three of you now mentor young men who aspire to be college coaches, or college athletes, I should say. How do you get involved? What effect do you have in that recruiting process? Coach Bukowski, I'll start with you because last year, Garrett Goebel, he was an easy kid, I would think, to handle. Every school in the country wanted him.
Right. Garrett was very fortunate to have a lot of, I think, in the end, he had over 36 Division I football offers and almost as many wrestling offers. But the thing that you have to keep in mind as a coach and obviously parents is, those kids are rare. You're working your program for the majority of those kids. You're looking at getting them placed. If they want to go on and play in college, D3 level, D2, even D1, you have to look at what's the best fit for them is. And I think as a coach, it's our role to do whatever we can. Football recruiting was very aggressive. As coaches, we send out film. Coaches visit often, so it's a matter of entertaining them and getting them what they want and transcripts and whatnot, those kind of things. Wrestling recruiting is very, very different. It's the budgets are much smaller. There's not as many official visits and things like that. So wrestling recruiting becomes a lot more, legwork, phone calls, referrals, references, those kind of things. So I think it's just a matter of playing a key role with those athletes and trying to get them placed in the best school for them.
The opportunities are far less in wrestling because Title IX eliminated scholarships in that sport. There are some half scholarships left, but a lot of programs don't carry it. But a lot of schools obviously still have football. That's still the big breadwinner, especially in the Big Ten. Coach Strong, you played at Illinois. You were recruited from Mount Carmel, so you went through the process as a player. And then obviously some of your teammates at Mount Carmel and at Illinois, Dana Howard, for example, went on to pro careers. Has the recruiting process changed a great deal in the 15-odd years since you went through it?
Well, I'm just seeing it from a different perspective. As a player, you don't see what coaches go through. But now I'm seeing it from a different perspective. And, it's about building relationships. And with the staff that I have, the relationships they have with other coaches on the collegiate level, no matter if it's Division I, 1AA, or down the line, those relationships that you have with friends that get involved with coaching, you try and continue those and let them know. That's where I'm beginning, as a first-year head coach, to contact those guys and to let them know what I'm trying to do here at Thornridge and, what are they looking for, inquire what they're looking for, and like Coach said, send off the tape and kind of go from there.
Verge, not everyone gets recruited out of high school anymore. For example, in basketball, a lot of kids get their ride via their AAU team. In football, there's some individualized training, and in wrestling, Coach, we touched on the overtime program. But the outside influences that are affecting what you guys do on a day-to-day basis are getting more and more.
That's correct. I couldn't agree with that more. As far as Power Performance is concerned, that's the company that I'm involved with right now. What we do is we train these athletes to be bigger, faster, and stronger. And we make that promise because what we do is we bring them in and we'll test them before we begin training them. Now, we're not going to build a Division I athlete, nor do we guarantee that. But if a boy starts working with us or a girl starts working with us in 8th grade freshman year, they're going to be more likely to be considered for that Division I scholarship because of their enhanced speed, their jumping ability, their strength, so on and so forth. What we do, which is kind of unique with Power Performance, is we go ahead and we go out there and we offer all of our performance training in a camp atmosphere because what we get, the feedback that we're getting right now is that the parents are saying that, it's too expensive. $80 an hour for a personal trainer. Well, what we do is we're going away from that. What we do is we'll get a team in a gymnasium, for instance, 50, 60 kids in there, and we'll charge them $10 a piece. So it's affordable. The price point is right, and we're doing the same training for those 60 kids in one gymnasium as we would for a one-on-one session. And I think that that's a good recipe, a recipe for success with the kids so that the parents can afford it, so that all the kids can come to our camps. And right now we're experiencing a lot of success with that.
But not every organization runs it that way, Coach Strong. For example, AAU doesn't cost money, but it certainly is having an effect across the board, is it not?
Yes, I mean, I understand completely, as to what they're trying to get accomplished with AAU, trying to provide exposure to athletes, which I support. But at the same time, as I said earlier to the other coaches, you have some young men who have this dream of being a professional basketball player, and the percentages are they lean towards the taller athletes. It's not a shorter athletes type of game. And when you have young men that are around 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", and I'm not trying to discourage anyone who's that height that want to play professional basketball, but when you're that height and you just focus solely on basketball, whether it's in your season, which I understand, but then in the off season you're doing AAU during the winter and during the summer, I would just think that you would want to exercise some other options of your, to use your athleticism and possibly get some assistance for schools. So.
Is that taking your own athletes out of your own training program because they're chasing an AAU dream when maybe they're better suited to play D-back?
Well, when I originally, that's a good point. When I originally arrived at Thornridge, there was a handful of guys that, when I saw them, I asked them about them participating in the off-season conditioning program because they did play football. But the first thing that they stated was that, I have AAU practice. And, my thinking is, the first sport that's coming back around is football. So I'm trying to understand why you're focusing in on one particular sport. I do support young men participating in everything, but at the same time, be smart and weigh your options and really try and take the right path to where you can be successful and maximize your athletic ability.
Coach Bukowski, some of these club teams are a positive, are they not?
Well, I think anytime you have kids participating and getting better, but what it comes down to, I think, is you have to keep the individual athlete in focus. What are your goals for your high school career? I've had a couple of athletes over here. We had a young man wrestled, was a three-sport athlete actually, was a running back on our state championship football team, was a four-time state qualifier for me in wrestling, finished second in the state twice, and was a state champion on 2 relays in the track team. And you couldn't have a better high school career than that. The young man was not a prototypical recruitable Division I football athlete. He was a little short, and this and that, but I mean, you couldn't have a better high school career than this young man had. There's so many kids that would look up to do that. And the thing is, you really have to ask yourself, what's the goal for that young man? And you have to be able to really get that out of those people. And I think sometimes parents, sometimes AAU coaches, club coaches, they get in the way of that focus. You got to really look at that young man and say, are you willing to give all that up? If he would have concentrated on wrestling and only wrestled, even then he had Division I offers. But his first love was football. He wanted to play college football. Now, that's just the way it was, and that was a thing that he's fine with that. He made that decision. We were fine with that. It doesn't work that way for every kid. Coach brought up a great point. These kids have to really understand what they want to get out of their high school career. Because as you mentioned, Coach, 1% of them are going to go on and play in college, at that level. And, even then, some of them wash out, and, you have to make the best out of your career, I think.
Well, I know what we want to identify here on MouthpieceSports.com and the High School Buzz Session, and that's some more high school topics. But we've run out of time for right now. We'll be back with more in our panel here at the High School Buzz Session, coming to you from the Grotto at 3011 Butterfield Road in Oak Brook. Stay with us.